department of the ADB Gateway product line.
My name is Luka Perkov. Most of you know me. I'm OpenWrt developer and I'm running a company in Sartura.
Hi, I'm Wojtek Makowski. I'm CTO of SoftAtom, a company that is owned by several service providers. And what we do is we provide and integrate software in their boxes, home gateways, and set-top boxes mainly.
Hi, my name is Hauke Mertens. I'm working for Intel in the former Lantic part, and yeah, I'm also involved, one of the core developers of Lead, and yeah, worked on OpenWrt before.
Hi, I'm Felix, a long-time OpenWrt and now lead developer, and I do a lot of freelance work, and I'm involved with some companies that are doing business related to OpenWrt and lead.
Hi, I'm Imre. I'm actually one of the guys who spent most of the time on OpenWrt with Felix. And actually I work for Belkin and other companies.
Hi everyone, my name is Zoltan. I'm currently maintaining 2 targets in OpenWrt and more or less taking care of trunk nowadays.
Hi, Beda Koshata from CZNIC. We are using OpenWrt in our Tourist Omnia router.
You can hold on to the mic. And I'm Kathy Giori. I guess I used to work at Qualcomm Atheros, and I had convinced the team at Qualcomm Atheros to move from their own sort of internal SDK into using OpenWrt as the framework for the SDK that they deliver to their customers. And happy to see that we have a colleague from Qualcomm Atheros Bangalore with us today, and hopefully he'll be pushing stuff back into the mainline trunk. And then this year I moved to join Arduino, which had its own trademark issues that we resolved 2 weeks ago, so that's pretty good. But I still get to be involved in OpenWrt because we have a couple of platforms that use it. And the first thing I wanted to say is about 3 years ago, there was an embedded Linux conference where we got just people sat down in a conference room, and we had OpenWrt developers mixed with a few people from industry, and we said, you know, how can we make these relationships between industry and OpenWrt go better, and how can developers who are sucked into the industry side, just like Joseph's talk on Technicolor, you know, there's constraints where industries goes one direction, community goes another, and you always want to try to bring those sides together so it can be a win-win. So since 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, whenever you started being involved, I just want the panelists to go through and say, okay, relations between industry needs of OpenWrt and community needs, are we making progress? And Beda, why don't you start?
Okay, well, I think we have certainly made some progress. We have learned a lot about OpenWrt, about how it works internally. There was some impressive work going on inside OpenWrt. Regarding the community, I think the OpenWrt Summit is the perfect example of that we are going forward, that we are working better together. On the other hand, of course, the OpenWrt lead split is something that is not so positive when seen from outside. There are reasons certainly for this, but from the outside it's not very transparent what is going on. So this is one of the cons from my point of view.
And then just pass the mic down.
I think talking about the OpenWrt lead split, I will pass it on to Imre.
Imre?
Well, we certainly have issues.
So name some of the issues that still remain between industry and community.
I think the industry still has some hard times actually realizing how to work with us. And I think we all hope that we can resolve this sooner or later. But
and do you think it's a communication thing or a technical thing? Can you point to one example? Okay.
Both. The thing is that the industry has to understand that OpenWrt is a bit similar to the Linux kernel, so our code quality requirements are a bit higher than what they are used to internally. And actually, we have to be more open about how can they build bridges towards the community and OpenWrt itself. But I think Felix can also speak a lot about working with companies and how painful it is to go through some of the internal code base.
Yeah, and Felix, you can probably comment on, for example, industry desires towards something like TR69 might not be as interesting to some of the community developers. So how do you bridge those gaps?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a project where we're making some progress in collaborating with the industry. In terms of overall progress, I see different kinds of players in the industry and how they're still behaving in their interaction with us. I mean, there's some that basically where there's no progress at all because there's a big gap in how they work and how we work. And I think one of the key issues is that many of the companies still don't realize that what we've been trying to tell them basically for years, that you have to look at the bigger picture and you have to look at not just what value can they extract from using OpenWrt or Lead, but also like how can they get even more value from the overall system by collaborating with us and looking at the big picture. And this is something where like seeing positive examples like what Jos said in his talk, I mean, it shows that at least Technicolor and like some other companies, they understand the core issues. But in some cases, I think it's organizational structure issues that prevent them from actually understanding what it takes to collaborate with us.
But Jos at Technicolor, he'd lose his competitive advantage if he went and trained all his competitors to do good cooperation with OpenWrt, right?
I also want to add that one of the big issues that companies have to get through is that even if they use OpenWrt, sometimes they are stick to like 5 or 7 years old versions, and they have to re-implement a lot of features that we have in OpenWrt for pretty much a few years now. Yeah, and for them, that's actually really a hard time to realize that they have to throw away a lot of additional value that they added to that version, because it's absolutely, well, let's be honest, it's outdated.
So, and Hauke started...
I just wanted to add a quick comment for all the players in the industry. I think what surprises me in some ways is that they may not understand what we're doing or how to collaborate with us, but many of them don't even invest the bare minimum of time in actually trying to talk with us and ask us how this can possibly work. And I think if they don't even go that small step, then maybe they're not really interested.
So, Hauke, I just want to set the stage. Like, being an OpenWrt developer and then going into industry, do you ever have conflicts with yourself, or how do you?
I try to avoid these conflicts. So I can support what Imre and Felix said. It's true. I also see these problems. So I think there's a problem between how so the industry works in a different way than the open source community works. So it's not just that. So at least I think the Linux kernel works in a similar way to what the OpenWrt and the Lead community works like. But it's completely different from like how a big company works with a subcontractor. So, so in my opinion, it looks like some companies try to work with the community like a subcontractor, and if they try that, it will fail. And yeah, I think there's we need a better understanding from both sides. So the industry has better to understand how to work with the open source community and how to interact with them, and yeah, the open source community, I think it also makes sense to better understand how the industry works, and so because there are also some differences. So like you have deadlines, so you have to have this feature in there at a defined point in time, and in the open source you say, yeah, okay, we didn't get it for the release, so we do it in the next release, and yeah, this kind of stuff.
So from my point of view regarding this collaboration between the industry and the community, there was something that was very positive. As you know, we organized a technical workshop in June. So that was the first time where we met and discussed about what we at the industry side call the carrier grade requirements. And that was a very good discussion, and I was really, it was a good surprise how these guys were open to discuss how we could address that, etc. So that was absolutely positive. Then, if I have to say something negative too, is that I have the impression that they are not aware how bad it is for everybody that there is still this split between OpenWrt and LEED. It's not only, you know, my personal opinion, but I have my customers, and every time now I speak about OpenWrt, etc., they say, ah, yeah, that's the stuff that where the developers split it, so there are two small communities, so probably as there is a fork, both will be dead. That's the idea. So guys, do something about that.
Thank you for the feedback. But yeah, I wanted to also say some other items based on the comments that the guys from the team gave. I would like to add that we are not perfect, so it's not like the customers or the people who use OpenWrt should just come and say, hey, we would like to get this feature done, such as, for example, that Inteno did recently with that UBus network feature, which is rather good. And the thing is that we don't have a plan of things that are coming, like when is the release going to be, what is the plan for this kind of feature. So we do land features unannounced, so I understand that sometimes this can happen, but it shouldn't be always the case. So I think we should be also communicating better to the outside. And looking back, so like Kati said, 3 years ago, we had that meeting in a small room, everybody was like looking what's going on. Then we had the summit year after, and now there was 230 registrations. So people want to participate, want to be engaged for a number of reasons. So we should think better how to collaborate on both sides and do something to move the projects forward. Thank you.
Okay, just our point of view from ADB, we are just starting the collaboration with the community since few months after using an OpenWrt private fork since 7 years now, probably. So we are probably one of the examples of the outdated software that Imre was talking about. But the positive thing is that we see from the community an open-mindedness and a willingness anyway to having industry involved and also take care of their proprietary solution, at least watch them, understand why they did some choices, and maybe try to find an agreement on how to create a path for the community, for the industry, sorry, to go back to the upstream project. That is an important thing from the industry point of view, so not just throwing away their own software, but just creating a modular, a step-by-step approach for going close to the upstream projects. That's a positive thing. On the bad side, for sure I agree with Wojtek, the split is not so good. Why that? My personal opinion, okay, I 100% agree with Jo's presentation about the pros and cons for an industry to go to a community approach. I would like to highlight the cons of the effort that an industry, especially a mid or a small-sized industry, must spend in working with the community. It's quite time-consuming. You have to talk with the guys, you have to follow the upstream projects and the different approaches that has been taken, and there must be a reason for that. And the company must understand and must see a return of investment, at least on a medium term, if not small term. And the split just adds an overhead on all this effort. So you don't have a community voice, you have at least 2 communities, you have at least 2 branches to look at, you have to understand the decisions between them, you have to decide where to push eventually your changes, to OpenWrt or to Lidi, or maybe to the upstream projects. So that's hard from this point of view.
So that was the heart of, basically, you went right into my, thank you, Matteo, you went right into my second question, which is, you know, with the lead and OpenWrt split, we now have industry in this position of having dual distros to deal with, and there were various reasons. I mean, I was going to make an analogy to American politics, but I can't in that with the American politics, clearly Hillary has my vote and Trump does not, but with OpenWrt and Lead, I get along great with both sides, so it's kind of like, I can't quite make that analogy, but so I'm going to start with just the industry folks where in talking about it. I'd like to also highlight in terms of the improvements, are we making progress? One of the things I think that's led to the success of industry and OpenWrt coming together is having a community manager like Eric Schultz. Eric, where are you? You know, I think that helps communication. You have someone who's actually communicating. And talking to OpenWrt and Lead guys, they said, oh, well, there was Gregors who was supposed to be one of those, you know, community relationship and things. And even Felix the other night was saying, you know, I've tried to keep things together, but at some point, you know, communications broke down and mistrust grew, but they're all great developers. So starting with industry, I think you've already highlighted that working with dual distros is difficult. So if you have any additional comments on that, go ahead. And then I'd like to hear from the Lead and OpenWrt guys, you know, what can you do about it, or what would you like to do about it if you could make some changes now? So first, industry, just point out anything else about dual distros you don't like, or...
Having a community manager is definitely a great thing. You have at least one point of contact. A good thing could be having or try to define a process for the companies to push their changes upstream. So where to do that? What will be the best place to push them? Let's pick up an example. Suppose that I have a patch on hostpd package. It's a well-known package for Wi-Fi abstraction layer. Where should I put it? To the upstream, to Giori Malinen maintainer, rather than to OpenWrt branch, rather to Lidi? So where? Just understanding this, or having a formalized process for the push request could be a good starting point from my point of view.
And Wojtek?
Maybe I am wrong, but my impression is that you guys, you don't have a clear governance rules. So it's much more you met or not, you discuss or not, etc. I think that you must get some written rules and try to apply to them. Obviously, before to write them, you must agree on them, but I think this is something that is necessary. It cannot be just, you know, every time you rediscuss everything. Something must be put in written, agreed, and go forward. So that's my recommendation.
Well, I don't have much to add from our point of view as well. It's a pain in the working with two upstreams. Well, maybe even 3, because OpenWrt is itself, it's not very clear if to use SVN or Git, so at least from what we see now. So we see it like 3 upstreams, and it would be very nice to have one. One day we have to decide which one is the one we will follow, and we will go to one. We cannot support 3. So from our point of view, we will have to work with it somehow, but it would be nice if these 3 just merged back to one and we could get everything together in one place.
Okay, now the rest of you guys, what's the fix?
I just wanted to quickly respond to the points made here. I'll start with the first point of not understanding how to contribute patches and things like that. I think there are many issues along the way of getting an industry player involved with collaborating. But I think the necessary first step for this to work is for the industry player to come along and say, okay, here's what we did. We don't know how to contribute that. Maybe just send an early version of the patch to the mailing list to get the discussion started, and actually start talking to us, like, what are your plans? What do you want to do? How do you want to collaborate? And just get the discussion going. And for the second part of having governance rules for the project and things related to the split. So we actually had a set of rules in the OpenWrt project, but we didn't quite follow the process and it didn't really work. And actually having a set of rules for how do we collaborate and how do we work together, that's been a big part of what we did in the lead project. So we actually formalized this somewhat more. We made the whole thing more open and more transparent, and now it's just about like resolving the rest of the differences that we have as 2 projects, but trying to put pressure on the outside for that to work faster actually doesn't help one bit. We're going to sort this out somehow, and you'll just have to wait for us to do this, because in this case the community created this project and we have to put the community first before the industry players.
Yeah, I totally agree with Felix. I agree with Felix on this one, and about working with us, one of the main problems is that most companies simply think that they can just dump whatever they had on us and we will merge it. And yeah, actually opening the discussion has to be a bi-directional talk. So we do need the companies, the industry, to want to work with us, other than just getting rid of the maintenance burden they have to carry. About having 3 upstreams, it was actually pretty much you guys who really wanted to have Git. Now you got Git. SVN is simply there because there are a lot of industry players who have everything set up for SVN, and pulling the plug, well, you shouldn't do that in a single day. So I think SVN access as read-only is still there. We aren't committing anything there other than Rafale sometimes by accident, but I think we shorted that one out as well, pretty much.
I think in the comments I see one of the problems I mentioned. So from the company perspective, when you have a company, it wouldn't split up in 2 companies doing the same thing. So this never happens. So and from a business perspective, when you look at it, the split doesn't make any sense. But there you see it. So I was contacted by many people from the industry about what happened there. Why did it happen? They completely didn't understand it, this split. But yeah, I think there is a problem. So in the open source community, this is normal. This happens very often, that a project, that some developers try to do something else, and forking is a normal thing. But it doesn't happen in the industry. So where you have normally the boss at the top, and he says what direction to take, and the people under it are going into this direction. And if they don't go in this direction, they are fired in the end, or something like this. But in the community, you don't have the boss which sits on top and sets the direction where to go. There are lots of players with individual targets, what they want to do. Yeah, and they try to talk to each other to get it somehow in a direction where everyone is fine with.
We actually have to leave it there. We're actually over our time. Sorry. We actually have a break right now. Really.
Yeah, that's too bad because I really wanted to, I limited it to 2 questions so we could get audience participation, but it's okay. I invite all of you to, yeah, all of you that want to take a break, go take a break. All of you that want to participate and ask more questions of the individuals, come on up. How about that?
So I have a question. So what will be the very single one most important thing that you would like to see happen to go back together?
So, okay, so the Mike, basically, Cesare is asking, you know, I don't know if I quite understand, but one thing to bring, what's the most important thing?
If there was one thing that I would name that would make them go back together.
Just so for the lead OpenWrt, if there's one thing that could help you come back together or make you come back together?
Well, the one thing, if we're going to get back together soon, the one thing that will bring us back together is sitting down and having an open face-to-face discussion amongst ourselves. This is the single biggest thing that we need. Anything else, whatever.
Yeah, that's what they're going to try to do. Well, I offered to hold on to the key and lock the room that we put them in. That would. Any other comments? Yeah, we have one more question here.
Thank you. Hi, I'm not actually in the telecom industry. I work for utility, but I'm here because I like OpenWrt. I know of the split between OpenWrt and LEAD, and I also know of the history of OpenWrt, how it started with the original Linksys router and they released the source code. And, you know, we've come very far in the decade, and so since that happened, and I guess my question is, industry sees the split as a negative thing. They don't want to have 2 organizations to talk to, 2 communities and everything like that. But given how far OpenWrt has come and the industry pressure for the Internet of Things, do we maybe need to consider that OpenWrt has built a great community and to support the industry needs for Internet of Things and things which are not necessarily routers, there maybe needs to be a split so that OpenWrt resources are not taken away from what we've been doing for the last 10 years?
I don't think the split has anything to do with different directions. I think the project is inclusive enough that even getting people involved with the whole Internet of Things related stuff, that can work easily. It's not like we're fixed in our aims to only work with routers. So I don't think the split is related to that at all.
The thing is that OpenWrt is running on way more exotic devices than routers for quite a few years now. So we know that, for example, Sony uses OpenWrt in some of the high-end hi-fi systems. OpenWrt was used as the Linux bootloader on the PS3. And actually... the
Wemo device, I mean, there's...
Yeah, pretty much if you look at anything coming out of China related to IoT, it's running OpenWrt already. So I think if you look at by the numbers, we probably have more devices running OpenWrt which are not routers anymore.
Again, I don't want to run over our time, so I want to thank the panelists for their candid comments, and we can take a break.